All right, I'm going to make a video now on Unit 31. We'll see how much I get through. And I might add some of Unit 32 in here, but Unit 31 is all about bar, circle, and line graphs. And so we're basically just going to get started on looking at some examples of line graphs, bar graphs, and that kind of thing. And the first thing we have to be able to do is read a bar graph. And so if we just take a look at, we're just going to look at an example here on page 647 actually is the page that the problem is on, and I'll try to focus this as best as I can. So we've got this bar graph here, and along here it tells us that the bottom, this would be the x-axis, this tells us that we're dealing with the workers in millions. So like this number 10 represents 10 million. Don't worry about changing it to like the actual millions. Just write, if you're asked for answers, write 10 million, 5 million, whatever. Don't try to add all the zeros. So the length of the bar out here, so like this length of this bar, would tell us that, let's see, we go out to approximately 9 million. So you can see that in between 8 and 10 there's 1, 2, 3 marks, so that means the middle mark is actually a 9. Okay, so I can tell that the managers and administrators, the total number of people is about 9 million. Okay, now what you notice about each of these bars are called segmented bars. They're segmented because each bar represents a different group of people. So I have the males and the females, and they give us a key. It's always important to give a key. So in the managers and administrators, I can see here that about, let's see, there's 6, 2 marks, that would be 7. A little more than 7 million of the managers and administrators are males. So a little bit more than 7, we'll just say about 7 million, and a total of 9 million. So 9 million minus 7 million would leave me about 2 million to be the females. So that little distance there, the number of female managers and administrators is about 2 million. So that's just how I'm reading this. Up here are the occupational groups that each bar represents. And then you always have a title, the employment in major occupational groups. So the questions that we want to be able to answer are all below here. And so how many men are employed in service occupations? Okay, so I'm just going to go to service occupations, and I'm going to look over. The men are this one with the little lines. So that is, well, let's see, it's that mark there would be 5 million. It's not quite to 4, it's halfway between. So this would be 4.5 million. All right, how many women are employed in service occupations? Well, if that was 4.5 million, okay, right to there, and we go all the way out to the end, and that is a little bit, let's see, that's 11, it's one little mark before that, so that's going to be, there are 11.5 million total, minus 4.5 million men, so 11.5 minus 4.5 is 7 million women. So, and finally part C, what percent to the nearest whole percent of the clerical group is made up of women? Okay, so percent is the number out of the total times 100. To find a percent, you take the number that you want divided by the total and then times 100. So we want what percent to the nearest whole percent of the clerical group, so we want to look in the clerical group is made up of women. So in the clerical group, we've got to take this big, we've got to figure out that value there. So first of all, I look at the total, which is at 15. So the total here is 15 million. And then I'm going to take away the men. Well, the men, it looks like it falls at about, let's see, that's 3, so 3.5 million. So 15 million minus 3.5 million men. So 15 minus 3.5 gives me that there were a total, for part C, there were a total number of 11.5 million women out of a grand total of 15 million who were all in the clerical group. Divide that and take it times 100, and that will give us a percent. So 11.5 divided by 15 times 100 gives us that, for the answer for part C, approximately 77%, 76.6 repeating percent. So that's how we read a bar graph. And we've got all kinds of different examples that we can look at for bar graphs, but they're all relatively pretty easy. So now the next thing you have to be able to do is to draw a bar graph. So we are going to look at, on page 652, we're going to make a bar graph for number 4. So we're on page 652. We're looking at number 4. We want to draw a vertical bar graph. A vertical bar graph means the bars are going to go like this. Vertical bar graph means the bars go up and down. Okay? So horizontal, so there's a vertical bar graph. A horizontal bar graph means the bars are going to go horizontal. So that's the difference between the two. And they do say in number 4 on page 652, draw a vertical bar graph showing the United States imports for 8 consecutive years. So this would be U.S. imports for 8 years. And that would be the title. Okay, so I'm going to make just an XY axis, basically just a corner here. And let's see, I am going to put the years on the bottom. So we're going to have 8 years on the bottom, okay? And so basically we're just going to, they don't even have like actual years, they just have first year. So let's see, this will be year number, let this 1, 2, 3, 4, whoops, that shouldn't be 5, 6, 7, 8. The key is I want them all to be the same size. So this is year 1, year 2, year 3, year 4, year 5, year 6, year 7, and year 8. Okay. So just that's how wide I'm going to make each of the bars. And the bars, technically I probably shouldn't make them touching, so I'm going to make them kind of in the middle of each of these, I guess. So now I need to put the scale on the side. And what I notice, I have the numbers. The first year has 18 billion, then 21, and 25, 26, 33, 36, 39, and 45. So I need to go all the way from basically 0 all the way up to 45. Well, I don't want to do that because going from 0 to 18 is kind of a waste. So what I can do is I can put a little break in my graph, and I can say, well, okay, here, this is just going to, I'm just going to get started here. You know, I can break this, and I'm going to start this at 18. And then I could go up by, say, 3s, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 33, 36, 39, 42, 45. So then I don't have so many marks. Okay, some of these will be more of an estimate then, since I won't have exact values. So now what I'm going to do is, now that I have all of the axes labeled and I have a scale, I'm just going to make my bar. And it looks like, you know, when they do the break in the bar, they just kind of make it like, okay, so for my first bar, it would start here, it would kind of have a little break, and then it would jump up. That would just, it would stop. Well, I'm just going to make it to 18. Okay, we can see that it's pretty little. Okay, and then for the second year, that was 21, so then I'm just going to make another bar. And the key with bar graphs here, they can be touching, but usually we don't make them touching. All right, so now 25, so that's going to be just slightly above 24. And the key is you really want to make them all the same width because you don't want to misrepresent what you're doing. So now number 4, year 4 was 26, that's just going to be slightly higher. Year 5 is 33, that actually will go up to that bar. Some of my bars are getting a little crazy wide here, but that's okay. And year 7 is 36, so that's just, or year 6 is 36, sorry, that's just a little higher. Year 7 is 39, and year 8 is all the way up at 45, and I am not going to color any more of them in. So there's just our bar graph. And bar graphs are pretty easy to make. We probably aren't going to be making circle graphs. And since we're not going to be making circle graphs, we're just going to move to the line graphs. You have to be able to read line graphs, which is on page 665. So if I just take a look at reading a line graph, let's see, here we go. So here is, down here, we're going to look at this. It says temperature in degrees Celsius for the different times of day are shown on the graph. express the answers to the nearest 0.2 degree. So we've got our picture here. The questions are, what is the temperature for each of the hours shown on the graph? So the temperature for each of the hours, basically you would just go through and say, okay, at 2 p.m. it looks like it's at 17. At 3 p.m. we're just going to go up there. That looks like it's about, let's see, 0.2. So this is 18, 18.2, 18.4, 18.6, 18.8, and 19. So each of these marks is 0.2. So the temperature at 3 p.m. would be 18.2 degrees. Temperature at 2 p.m. would be 17 degrees. At 4 p.m. you're just going to go up, and that would be, let's see, 20, 20.2, 0.4, 20.6 degrees. Then number 5, fifth hour, you would just count 19, 19.4, and that's pretty much all you're doing for the whole problem. So that's how you read a line graph. Now, what if we need to make a line graph? There's instructions on page 670 on how to draw a line graph. And we'll look at one more video here. So we would like to make this is not a video, we'll do one more example. We're going to look on page 671. Page 671, and we would like to make a line graph for number 1. And we've got monthly production of iron ore, and this is in millions of metric tons. And so our bottom is going to be the month, and we're going to have June, July, August, September, October, and November. And the values are 6.2, between 6 and 5.9, 5.7, 6.4. So I'm just going to put a little break, and I'm going to start at 5.6. 5.7, 5.8, 5.9, 6.0, 6.1, 6.2, 6.3, 6.4. That should be enough. So in July, I was at 6.2. So I'm just going to go and put a dot at 6.2. Or June, I was at 6.2. In July, I was at 6.4. In August, I was at 5.9. And what I want to do as I go along is I'm just going to connect these. So in September, I was at 5.7. In October, I was at 6.0. And November, I was at 6.1. And so there's my line graph. So you've got some homework problems to do from there, and then the very last video that I do will be on some statistics. It might take 2 of them.